Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying that this is unscripted. If I do plan to remake this with the script, so it's a little bit of higher quality, I will consider deleting this video, but for the meantime, this is what we'll be working with. And I'm also doing this live playing other games just simply because it's easier on me. I don't have to put this into video editing software and render it and all that jazz, so we're just going to do this live. So anyways, I wanted to make a quick little video talking about a few things that I feel have gone a little bit unnoticed as of recently, or at least haven't been discussed as much recently. So I'm hoping that by bringing it up, there would be some discussion on it. But since Genesis 6 happened last weekend, I think it's a prime time to basically get the scene moving, right? To expand, to grow, and to reach out to as many people as we can. Right, a golden opportunity. A lot of people watch Genesis, maybe a lot of people are interested in the game since Genesis. You know, there's some pretty hype moments like, you know, Arashi's Hammer, as I'm sure you may know. But there is a problem, despite Genesis being hyped, there's still a big problem, and that is getting into the competitive scene. I still think is really difficult and not accessible whatsoever. Because unless you really look for it, I guess you could say, you really won't know where to go. I feel like Twitter and Discord are really private, and they're not as easily discovered, especially Discord. Discord's a lot more private than you would think. And it's a problem, because if people can't find how to play your game, how are they going to play the game, right? So an easy way for this to, an easy way to remedy this would be to make videos, right? Like, I'm sure you've probably seen that SRB2 dudes getting into competitive guide. I know Watsum has made a few guides, but I feel like they're not enough guides that are coming out that are like not like relevant in terms of time, if that makes sense. Like there's not a lot of new stuff coming out, and people really want to watch new stuff. Like if you go into Splatoon, you know, getting into competitive, a lot of the videos you'll see number one are like Squid Kids videos from Splatoon 1 long time ago that aren't really that are still kind of true. Like there are things about Discord and whatnot, but not really as up to date as what the scene is like right now, and yada yada yada. So definitely making content is a good thing to help promote the competitive scene. But I mean, there's also a lack of VODs on YouTube, especially YouTube. I think YouTube is the biggest site we can use to advertise, because I feel like a good majority of any sort of Splatoon content is going to be related to YouTube in some way. And yeah, we're not having a lot of VODs on YouTube. Not really. I mean, there are a lot of top players that have been trying to upload their sets and whatnot, but I don't think it's enough. And especially because with how rapid the teams change in this scene, it's hard to keep up with if you're not constantly like updating and constantly making sure that, you know, like, oh, this player went to this team, or this team is this team actually, but they're under a different name or whatever. Like, it's hard to keep track of unless you're regularly uploading and sharing and stuff like that. And so yeah, that's a problem. And another thing is that competitive isn't exactly explicitly stated. Like, there are definitely guides and there's more and more popping up, but not a lot of people are taking the opportunity of those videos to basically say like, hey, there's a tournament coming up, or if you want to get into competitive, here's a server and whatever. Which I can understand people would forget, but it's just like, if you're gonna make, for example, like a shooter guide or whatever, it's a good idea to plug in something related to competitive at the end, if possible. If possible. There's just, in my opinion, there are like competitive-oriented videos, but not enough of them are explicitly directing viewers to where to participate. Which brings me into my next point, which is supporting content creators and advertising, because a lot of people say, well, we just need to make content and we'll get more people in and whatever, right? But it might sound selfish, but I don't think a lot of people are keen on the idea of spending time to make a video only for it to get like 10 views in a month, right? Like, I don't think anybody is looking to invest a whole amount of time to edit a guide or to edit a trailer of some kind or a montage to promote like a competitor or whatever, just so it goes unnoticed. And, you know, that's what social media is for. Social media helps us to share things, you know, a simple retweet, linking to friends and whatnot. That helps people a lot. But I feel like we're also limited in scope. Like, it seems kind of obnoxious, but we really need to reach out to Reddit. We need to reach out to Splat Amino. We need to reach out to YouTube. We need to spread it as much as possible, even to sites that people think are dead, like Squidwards. Like, I don't know, there's 2 people on there who still probably use it. Any more the merrier, you know? And even though they're more casual-oriented communities, it doesn't hurt to just make an account on them, you know, that just dumps YouTube links into chats or whatever, right? That were appropriate, obviously, but I feel like there's also a lack of advertising. Most people will make one tweet, they'll say, hey, here's my video, check it out, and then everyone will retweet it and stuff, and then it'll go forgotten in the next coming months. Like, people will forget it even existed, which is kind of sad, but that's the way it is. So yeah, we have to be able to make a lot of content that's frequently advertised, because again, like I said, most people probably aren't keen on, or aren't sold on the idea to spend time to make content or whatever to help people get into the game if they feel like it's going to go unnoticed and nobody's going to watch it and it's not going to get to the intended audience. And speaking of which, tournament attendance. I feel like tournament attendance is becoming it's more so fluctuating. There's times when there's a lot of teams in tournaments, there's times where there's barely any teams in tournaments, and I guess to quote the famous Sendo, he has a really fantastic quote where he says, "Tournaments are like assholes. Everyone has one, but not all of them are entered," which, as crude as it sounds, it's definitely true. There are a lot of tournaments out there that barely have any signups, and you can blame it due to lack of advertising or whatever, but I do find that if a tournament isn't aggressively advertised, like if it isn't like spammed to death in every server and it's not like retweeted to death, people are just not going to enter, and especially if there's no prize, which is another big issue, right? Is the whole prize thing, because we're lacking. Besides like BNS, we're really lacking in terms of giving out prizes for teams who win. You know, back then we didn't really think of it so much, but now it's becoming more and more of a regular thing that if tournaments don't have anything to offer for first place, they're not even worth playing in, which is a little sad, but it's the truth. And honestly, back then, I think a lot of teams were pretty happy with getting team drawings and stuff, but it doesn't seem like as many artists are willing to give out free commissions for teams for winning. Which is understandable, they have to make a living, and yeah. But what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to say. Again, this is not scripted, so I'm at a loss of words, but I'll try to push forward. So yeah, that's another thing, is advertising tournaments, making tournaments at convenient times, trying to get a lot of people to play in it, make it accessible. Offer prize money for a little bit of the more dedicated player base to consider playing, just so they can win a prize, which is easier said than done, but I think that's a discussion for another time. And lastly, it brings me to my point, and that's accessibility, because I think the game as it is right now isn't very accessible. Despite being fairly easy to play, like I think a lot of people will agree, Splatoon's one of the easier competitive games to get into. It's I wouldn't say like super simple, but compared to other games, it's very simplistic. But even then, getting into competitive is a nightmare, because we still have a bajillion map and mode combinations a player needs to learn and be able to be comfortable with, and a bajillion different weapons to play and whatever. So, you know, this is where we get into that old discussion and debate over map bans or mode bans or whatever. Again, a discussion for another day, but I think that a lot of people, when they try to get into competitive, they'll see that, oh no, there's 100 million different map and mode combinations, so how am I going to possibly learn them all? I mean, I should say, sorry, proper English. But I think it's honestly really intimidating that you know, you might play a team and they've probably played the game for hundreds and hundreds of hours on all these different maps, and you're still new to the game. Like, you're probably still learning your weapon, you're still learning your role, and you have to learn all these maps. There's a lot to learn. Despite what I may have said, like, it might seem contradictory that game's easy to play, but it's still a lot to learn initially, especially because you know, tournaments are very broad with their rule sets and whatnot. BNS does have a solution to this because they tend to stick to one mode only, which is very, very nice. Sticking to one mode simplifies things and makes it easier for people. So, like, if they enter a BNS tournament that's Splat Zones, all they're playing that day is Splat Zones. They don't have to worry about anything else, and it's very simple for them to feel comfortable because they're going to be playing something. But if you play any other tournament, it's like one map's Clan Blitz, next map's TC, the next map's Rainmaker, the next map's Zones, and they're all 4 different maps, and you won't play on a map you've played before until like a set or 2, 3 later, maybe. Or sometimes you play the same damn map the whole time. Like, there just needs to be a way for people to feel less intimidated and for tournaments to be more accessible. And really, I'm not sure how to go about it. I know there's a lot of TOs that have their own ideas of what they want to do, but there really needs to be a collaborative effort between tournament organizers and players for what they think is best to get people into the game. Because of right now, I don't think a lot of people are really interested in playing the game. I think if people wanted to play a game, if people wanted to dedicate time to a game on the Nintendo Switch, they'd most likely look into Smash Ultimate, which is, you know, a competitor. They're on the same console and they're way, way, way bigger. So attracting anybody is going to be very, very tough. And you know, it was already tough before, but ever since Ultimate release, it's been a lot harder to get new players into the game. So I guess to recap, for one, getting into competitive is really hard for people, especially because Discord and Twitter seem very inclusive and very secretive environments. They're not very exactly the most inviting things. I know people try to do. I know people try to make servers like in Academy to help new players get into the game, but I feel like there's a lack of moderation. So what ends up happening is you get a whole bunch of trolls, or you get a whole bunch of people who spread inaccurate information that doesn't help anybody. So probably there needs to be stuff there. Second of all, content creation. Making new videos is always good, but it doesn't matter if they don't get advertised and they don't get shared and they don't get any views, because at that point it's just wasted time that doesn't contribute to anything, as sad as that sounds. But if nobody watches it, then who gets something out of it, right? Thirdly, as I've said, support fellow content. Support fellow content producers. Share their videos, share the love. You know, give them the attention they deserve, because they spend a lot of time making some videos, especially people like Wetsum who make really good in-depth tutorials. Like, it probably takes a while to write the script and get the footage that's relevant to the video and whatnot, so it's definitely a lot of work. Tournament attendance, as I said, it's been all over the place. There's been times where it's been good, there's been times where it's bad. We need to figure out a way to help even it out, make it a little bit more consistent, give incentives to people to play, make it accessible so people don't feel overwhelmed. Oops. Especially with a whole bunch of different rule sets, like Navigating Challenge and Battlefy and, you know, Smash GG. There's a whole bunch of different sites and a whole bunch of different ways of going about a tournament. It can be really, really, really confusing for new-time players, so first-time competitors. So streamlining that would help a lot. And again, the accessibility thing. I'm not saying that we should ban things, but I'm in favor of banning a few maps and a few modes. Not modes, maybe, but modes on certain maps. You know what I mean. Just banning a whole bunch of things just to make the map pool a lot smaller and a lot more manageable, instead of just feeling like a crapshoot that you have to pick a weapon that's just good on everything, because what's the point of learning a weapon that's good or that's specialized in a few modes or a few map modes if it's never going to be played that often, you know? So yeah, that was my rambling. Speaking of which, I will leave a Google form in the description of this video. I'm looking to make a montage taking clips from the community, just specifically because I would like to practice video editing skills, and making montages is always fun. It's a creative process I enjoy. It's just that playing the game, I haven't played Splatoon 2 in about 2 weeks, keep in mind. And I haven't been really following competitive. I haven't really followed competitive for like the past 2.5 months or so. So I'm kind of out of the loop. So maybe what I'm saying is nonsense. But either way, we'll leave a Google form in the description. If you have a Twitter account and you have Twitter clips, be sure to include them in that form if you would like to share them with me, and I'll see if I can include them in the video. Thank you for your consideration, and thank you for sharing footage, because for me, playing the game is already tough enough as is, but having to play the game for hours and then sift through footage to find some cool clips is not very fun. So being able to have other people share their clips with me makes it easier for me, and hopefully give them a bit of recognition. But either way, that's it for me for today. I hope you would take things into consideration. Like I said, if I decide to write a script and make this a little bit more formal, I would, but as for now, this is going to be unscripted, and it's just going to be a kind of like whatever video, just dumping my brain or whatever, okay? But anyways, yeah, I'll talk to you next time. Not talk to you next time. I'll see you next time, whenever that is, and take care of yourselves. Have a good day.